And welcome back. Today we are flying out the A10 early as well as the A10A late. And I'm using them like interchangeably because, well, they fly exactly the same. The only difference is if you fly them like this will be the fact that one of them has 4 A9Ls and the other one only has 2. The main thing I want to cover today is just average gameplay, because I have made a video on the A10 earlier. But getting 10 kills in a 1v7 is not exactly what you would call representable to this plane. So I have some average gameplay here for you, because I know a lot of you guys will be flying out this thing to get the F-14 Tomcat, and I can't really fault you. The A10 is one of my favorite planes too. I know it's not the best in RRB, it definitely isn't the best, it's actually pretty damn bad. But it's pretty fun to just spray the GAU at people and then farm some ground units. The problem is, if you are looking to just farm ground units, very often you will actually not be able to do so, because, well, either the game is going to be over, because the games snowball extremely fast. So by the time you see the enemy has 4 to 5 guys left, if you go to the middle of the map and decide to start ground pounding, very often those 5 guys will be dead by the time you kill 1 or 2 ground units, and that's not the best for RP. You got the missiles, you can kind of climb in. The problem is you will always be behind your team, and if the enemy does have flares, very often the missiles are not going to pose that much of a threat. In a down tier this thing is extremely dangerous, because if people go slow, just like this F-14A here, he's climbing at a very inefficient path, he's going pretty slow, he's not fast enough, he doesn't have flares, then he can't really do much against the A9Ls. And this is one of those scenarios you will find yourself in pretty often. It is like 2v9, 2v8, I don't know exactly what it is, and my team is just completely gone. And in the A10, what you can do is just try to cut your losses, try to kill as many guys as you can in the shortest amount possible, because you're simply not going to be winning this. If the enemy team is congregated like this, well, by the time you go for 1, maybe 2, you're gonna just end up going head on with 4 people at once. And as strong as the GAU rate is, even 1 guy in the head on, and you will see that a little bit more later on here, you can't really do much. You cannot really dodge someone in the head on, so you're just forced to stick it. And when you are forced to stick it, you're very likely to take some damage, and if you take some damage in this thing, well, the flight performance becomes even worse than it already is. So we are just going in, we're spraying at some guys. That other guy ignored me because I'm an A10, and I just have to stick it. No real other choice, and especially because I'm outnumbered like this, and this is the exact scenario. There's just 3 guys coming head on at once. A lot of guys will try to dodge you. He sets me on fire, he hits me as well, and now we go head on with the last guy, and just as I get my gun on, I lose tail control, and the F5C decides to steal the kill like the noble gentleman he is. And that's going to be game number 1. Game number 2, it's going to be roughly the same thing. This time I have some Mavericks on, because I wanted to simulate a little bit of an actual loadout. So I locked that guy up. I'm pretty far behind, and the problem is with being pretty far behind is, well, you are kind of alone. And the F-14 noticed me, so I can't actually get all the Mavericks off that I want to get off, because they do weigh you down quite a bit, for about 200 kilograms a piece. He manages to get a hit in there. F-14 is pulling around. My A9L will not be primed up in time, so I have to go for the gun. We miss. We dodged the head-on, kind of forced to do so, because that's a very bad angle. Don't want to take. Get a very easy shot on the F-14, and we just completely botch it. Looking around. No big deal. Kind of looking around here, seeing who to go for. F-14 turns back in front of us, which is perfect. Get a little bit of a better shot. And the AV8 breaks off. And we are in the clear for a little bit. So I want to get these Mavericks off yet again. I'm not getting a lock. And I can't really spend too much time in that camera, because I'm going to be completely tunnel visioned. I'm going to be third party basically. And there's just no time here to get this weight off my plane. I really want to, but I just can't. Kind of dodge the F5. Go head on with the F40. And as you can tell, I'm literally planning this ride as we go along. I'm just looking in front of me, I'm looking around me, and I'm simply going for what I can go for at that very moment. Making a battle plan to this thing is not going to get you very far. You just kind of have to do whatever you want. You have to play it like a monkey basically, a very suicidal monkey that has a few synapses left in his brain, and he really wants to activate that neuron. So he's just going to click at whatever is in his gun. And really, there's no real other way to fly it. You do want to be somewhat aware. You go head on with someone yet again, because that's all you do. And this F5C, despite him being completely dead, is still able to just get one of our guns or get 2 of our engines damaged. And that's multi times 4, multi times 5 coming up. And then the F40 that we managed to hit in the head on and didn't actually kill is gonna be killing us, because we have those Mavericks on. We also have 2 damage engines. We have some wing damage as well. And we are just simply way too slow to really do anything, and we are completely engulfed. We have the A10, we have the F-14, we have another Harrier coming in from behind, and they also have 2 more guys on the map somewhere that I have no idea where they are at this very moment. So I mean, I was going to lose regardless, but maybe we could have been able to do something there. Probably not, however. So, a few games later, and this is one of the games where it kind of pans out alright. Our team is pulling its weight, and as I say, that 2 F-4Cs crashed into the ground, but that aside, our team is kind of pulling its weight. So, I'm able to help with third partying, I'm able to help, even though I'm pretty far behind. You are always second row in this thing, and the problem is that the enemy teams also know this, and what some guys like doing is they like to just fly through the team and then start picking off the A10s that are kind of falling behind, and there's very little you can do there if they're actually decent players and if they're actually paying attention. And again, if you haven't bought a premium yet, the F5C is a much better pick. You can still ground pound, but it's still a pretty decent fighter, even though it is a higher BR. This F5C here, however, is trying to dogfight me, so I'm just trying to make sure that he can't get the angle in, and I'm just trying to raid fight him a little bit. I'm using my flaps here and there. I don't want to overuse them, because if I use them too much, I'm going to be too slow. For right now, I'm going about 615 kilometers an hour. F5C comes in, so we roll up and over last moment. Could have easily gunned us down, because it wasn't a very hard shot. But the other F5C at this point is way too slow. Hold the trigger down, and down he goes. That's perfect, but the game could have been ended already. And now we're going 550, and this guy is going to get another easy shot. He doesn't manage to get it in. And we dodge it. He flies somewhere else. And the moment he starts breaking off, we have no choice but do the same. Because if you start chasing someone, all that's going to end up happening is you're going to put yourself in a very bad spot. So instead we're going to pull vertical for the GL1A here. And then come an F104 and an F5C. And I lied. This game isn't going according to plan at all. We go head on with 2 guys. Dodge the first one, and I'm just too slow, so I'm just kind of have to stick it, hoping that he will stick it too. Almost get to recommit without a wing, but we don't manage to get it in. And this is the game that's actually gonna go somewhat our way, because this fight started together with us. The team, my team, our team, kind of gravitated towards our side of the map. And this means that I can help at the start. I can kind of help with the air superiority and try to get the numbers down. Just litter the area with flares. Very annoying if you are a teammate, I know, I'm sorry, but this thing is not very survivable as it is, so having flares in the air at all times is a pretty nice thing to have. And now our team is doing work. They are kind of killing everyone. And this game we're actually gonna have 2 guys that are gonna be camping the airfield, so we are able to actually farm the ground units, which is great. Very often this does not happen. Very often the entire team will die in about 4 to 5 minutes. And what ends up happening is that by the time you start killing those ground units, the enemy team will be completely dead. And the tickets will bleed, and you'll get about 5 ground units at most. The other flip of the coin is, your team is completely dead, you are kind of far behind, and you now have to fly through the entire enemy team. You're not gonna do that because you're simply too slow to reach the ground units and start ground pounding. Because of the nature of top tier, around 10.0, not exactly top tier, but you know what I'm saying, the teams snowball extremely fast, and this makes it so that ground pounders have just very little place here. If this thing was faster, or maybe had an air spawn, it might be a little bit more viable. The problem is, if you go to the deck, if you start ground pounding, you just put a fat marker above your head for the entire enemy team to come and kill you, because they will just drop what they are doing. They will drop everything that they are doing because they see an A10 ground pounder, because they know it's probably a premium player that's just trying to get his silver lions because he sucks at the game, and I don't mean it in a bad way, but if you see an A10 ground pounding at the start of the match, very likely he won't be a very great player, and very likely you're going to get a very easy kill out of him. And even if you are a good player, it doesn't even matter, because you're on the A10 ground pounding and you will be going about 500 to 600 kilometers an hour at most, because you're making turns, you're shooting, you're adjusting, you're not flying straight, you're not conserving your speed. You're just a complete sitting duck, and especially if someone comes in like a Harrier, come twice your speed, what are you gonna do? You're on the deck, you can dive out, you don't have stellar acceleration, you're pretty heavy, and even your top speed isn't that great, so what can you really do? You're just stuck on the deck. So again, if you haven't bought a premium yet, get the F-5C instead. The AV-8A used to be decent, especially with the airspawn, but right now, because it doesn't have it anymore, you can't really just climb over the entire enemy team, drop in, shoot some missiles, RTB, and be basically guaranteed to get 1 or 2 kills. Nowadays, not really the case anymore, because you start on the runway like everyone else. The AV-8 still has this absolutely insane climb rate, but it kind of lacks that oomph now to really get in front and above people. Still a decent grinder, I guess, and it's a little bit more of a forgiving BR. The thing is, the F5C is just much better at being an all-rounder. It's fast enough, it turns pretty well, it has decent guns, it can still ground pound very well, but you're not putting a massive bullseye on your ass by killing a few ground units, because like if people see the A10, they just know you're not really gonna be able to do much. Sure, you are impervious to missiles for the most part, you're not impervious to their guns. And being 500 to 600 kilometers an hour at a BR where everyone goes almost double your speed, going 1000 is almost cruising speed at this BR, and people are used to shooting at people going at those speeds. And even the worst players, not the worst, but like the not as good players, the people that are pretty new, the people that bought F5s, and people that just don't have much experience at the game will still be able to very easily kill you. And when even the less experienced people are very dangerous to you, you don't have a very great plane on your hands. However, and I do really like this, when you are put in a position like this, because I really like ground pounding in the A10, believe me or not, I actually find this very therapeutic, and I find it a lot of fun to sometimes kind of just fly around and click on pillboxes and howitzers. Yeah, that activates my neurons sometimes, but it's not a very reliable way to get your RP, because I managed to get 2 or 3 of these runs, and I think I have like, I'll actually check right now, but I think I have about 40 games in total in both of them. I have 47 games in the A10A, granted half of those are in ground RB, and then I have 20 games in the A10A late. And I made a decent amount of RP and a decent amount of Silver Lions. I'm getting about 120,000 Silver Lions at the end of the game you are seeing right now, and that's with 2 kills, and we are going to end up with 39 ground units destroyed, which is a sizable chunk. But you can't really do this very often, and the main problem with this thing is that very often you are also not able to get air kills consistently, which will be the biggest payout. And of course, if you are going to be running this thing in ground RB, in very specific scenarios, this thing will be pretty strong. You have 6 Mavericks, but you need to be decently high, you need to get in position first, and by the time you are in position, well, you're kinda already overdue. The game is kinda decided, it's gonna take way too long, you're still very vulnerable, and if someone sees you, they gun it for you. You actually don't see them coming, because there's no spotting going on. Again, the F5C is just gonna be better. You're faster, you're more versatile, you still have 4 bullpups, which are pretty damn strong, and if you have used the G91R4s with the Nords, which are just worse bullpups, and you can use those, you're gonna be completely fine. And again here, the enemy team died pretty quickly, but there's one guy camping the airfield, or just running away rather, and we will continue on to start ground pounding and killing some light pillboxes. I'm not gonna show you all of it, because well, it kind of speaks for itself, but you just really have to hope in RB that your team wins the game for you, and then that the enemy team has one guy that just decides to go to orbit, or camp the airfield, or run away because he's in an F-104 and your entire team is in Sabres, or stuff like that. You need an enemy, that just 1 or 2 enemies left in the enemy team, that are going to try their absolute hardest to prolong the match. And in that case, sure, you can stay around, you can kill all the ground units on the map in a single ammo load, but the amount of times that's actually going to happen is going to be very minimal. So do yourself a favor, get yourself the F5C if you haven't bought anything yet, and then just grind the A10 out. You'll eventually start flying this thing anyway. Like, if you want to fly it here and there, it's kind of fun. The GAU-8 is fun, the AIM-9Ls at a relatively low BR are pretty funny. You have unlimited flares, you have very good ground strike options, but again, it's just not the most versatile plane, and if you have to play this thing for like 200 games in a row, I guarantee you, you're probably not gonna have the best time. I hope you enjoyed it. See you all in the next one.